The Hilltoppers were a 1950s musical quartet that achieved status as the #1 musical group during 1953-54. The group was ranked as the #1 vocal combination by Billboard and Cashbox magazines in 1953 and consistently remained one of America's top 10 through 1960. The quartet originated when 3 Western students, Don McGuire, who graduated in 54, Jimmy Sacca in 53, and Seymour Spiegelman, who graduated in 53, joined a former Westerner and Hall of Distinguished Alumni member, Billy Vaughn, to form the Hilltoppers. Our final inductees, the Hilltoppers.
They took the Western Kentucky State College name to the top of the charts, from Bowling Green to New York to Tokyo. The Hilltoppers, a 1950s musical quartet that magically appeared on College Heights. Don McGuire, Jimmy Sacca, and Seymour Spiegelman joined former Western student Billy Vaughn to conceive one of the most gifted foursomes in musical history. A song first recorded in Van Meter Auditorium pushed them to the top of the Billboard charts. Trying, written by Vaughn, sent the Hilltoppers to New York for an appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show.
We were taken to a choreographer, and I've told the story that I didn't know if he would work on my shoes or fix my teeth. I didn't know what a choreographer was. We didn't have one in Hazard, Kentucky, where I grew up. So we were staged for one day with a choreographer. He showed us how to move our hands and change positions. And we walked in those studio doors, which must have been 20 feet tall. We swallowed pretty hard.
Sullivan thought using the Hilltoppers' youth would draw an interest in them, so he requested they wear sweaters with a big W and beanies. But McGuire says the beanies were there for another reason.
We were asked to wear those. Ed Sullivan wanted us to look the part of college students. Although Billy Vaughn was 34 years old and didn't have a lot of hair, the beanie served a purpose. It covered Billy's head. And I guess we did look like college kids. And kids of that day were looking, as they are now, for something different. And that made us different. And I know as we sat in rehearsal, while waiting to go on to rehearse, a Newsweek magazine came over and interviewed us. I don't think they would have come over if we hadn't been a gimmick. And we were a gimmick. We were college kids wearing sweaters and beanies to do the Ed Sullivan Show. But you can't blame a fellow for
trying. Lee Robertson was a Western student when the Hilltoppers made their sprint to fame. He says it was no accident the way the group developed.
It seemed like, I guess, birds of a feather kind of flocked together, and finally those people all liked music and away from what they were here really to do, and they finally got together and started singing around in little different groups, and maybe not together at first, but finally they found each other, and I think that was the beginning of the Hilltoppers, which cut their first record here at Van Meter Auditorium in the fall of 1952.
They were the #1 group in the land in 1953 and 54, Trying, P.S. I Love You, Only You, Mary Ann, and others put the Hilltoppers in the top 10 through 1960. 9 singles landed in the top 20.
They rode the top because they had some talent, and it was a type talent that fit those times. And I think what got them out of there, that soft music that they sung, and here came rock. They could do rock, but it wasn't completely their style.
Many factors led to their success, but one was so instrumental: chemistry.
Billy once told me that in later years he tried to get that same sound out of 4 other voices, and he could never do it. Out of all the people he worked with in recording sessions, he could never get that same chemistry or that same sound. So the sound came from Billy's arrangement, it came from the way Jimmy handled the lead, and it came from the total package of the 3 voices behind Jimmy adding to it.
Billy Vaughn joined the Hall of Distinguished Alumni in 1992. Now, as the others enter the hall, it's clear to see they took Western's name worldwide, literally.
I think we were good ambassadors for the college then. And in Japan, when we did a television show, people would see us who were in the service and come down to the station, and sometimes they would even interview them on the radio or television. And we always talked about Western and what a great time we had while we were at Western. That was our influence on Western influenced us in so many ways, really, as I look back on it now. Western was one of the warmest places I'd ever been when I went away from home the first time to college. And it still is that way, I think.
And as they took Western abroad with them, the Western spirit rode the highest wave.
Spirit means motivation, it means desire, it means goal seeking. And those three things you have to have in this life to succeed. There's no doubt about it. So that is such a profound inscription on that concrete monument as you walk in there. The spirit makes the master. That is absolutely true. Without spirit, the spirit from Western, the spirit from your family, the spirit from your church, your life, you're not going to do it.
There may be other quartets that achieve more success someday, but there will never be one to take the Western name and Western spirit to the corners of the world like the 1996 Hall of Distinguished Honorees, the Hilltoppers.
I swore that when I got up here, I wasn't going to thank everybody from the mayor of Hazard to Aubrey Hoofnell. A lot of you remember Aubrey Hoofnell, our one-man security force on this campus. And we paid Aubrey $10 to let us in Van Meter Auditorium that night. I'm not sure he asked the president. He just unlocked the doors and we went and recorded. But there are lots of people to thank. You just can't do something like this without saying thanks. And to President Meredith, who had the vision to start this organization and this hall. And of course, the selection committee. Let me tell you, folks, there are no chopped liver people in this organization. I looked at the former president of NBC and the man who commanded the Strategic Air Command, and I'm from Hazard, Kentucky. I'm from Perry County, and this is heavy company for me to be in, and I'm grateful that I'm having the chance to do this today. Can't hear? I'll get a little closer. Each time I've driven around the campus in past years, invariably I've looked up toward the Van Meter Auditorium and remember the day, it was April of 1952, when Billy Vaughn, Jimmy Sacca, Seymour Spiegelman, and I walked up those steps carrying a $30 tape recorder. That's all it cost. Not realizing that the sound we put on that tape and what played back to us was going to do what it did, that the American public was going to buy. A few weeks later, a man named Randy Wood came from Gallatin, Tennessee, with Dot Records equipment, a man we hadn't known before, a man who took a chance on us. And we went back into Van Meter, and Aubrey made $10 more. Aubrey wasn't as dumb as we thought he was. At that session that night, there were 10, 12 people at the most. 3 of our girlfriends who became our wives, and Smitty, who was already married, of course. And to this day, there have been 282,000 people claim that they were there. At the most, 10. Now, we did have one big dumb football player under the piano holding up the soft pedal that was defective. And he was there all night. We did 37 cuts, I guess. And he wasn't as dumb as we thought. He's Dr. Bill Plumas. He's here today. Bill, hold up your hand. Thank you. Now, Bill, you did all right, didn't you? Later on, when we did the Perry Como show and we had a break, I'll remember this the rest of my life. He had learned that our first song only had 4 voices and a piano. He says, how'd you guys do that? He said, I have 28 strings, 9 oboes, flutes, harps, the whole works. And I said, well, I don't know. He said, and I can't sell some of those records. And I thought to myself, he needed a big, dumb football player under his piano. But that was a very meager beginning. It was really primitive. Mr. Wood, who took a big chance on us in recording trying, and he had a partner who came with him who owned 10% of the company, which was zero. 10% of nothing is nothing. It was worth nothing. But later on, he owned a company called Liberty Records and produced a thing called Alvin and the Chipmunks. So here go the spin-offs on this. Of course, Billy Vaughn, who went on to record and so much beautiful music, to sell so many records. I wish he could be here today. I wish he could share this. I wish Seymour Spiegelman could be here today to share this. They're not here. So it's a bittersweet moment, as great as it is. And I wrote to Seymour's widow when he passed away to express my feelings toward him. And I'd like to read this right now, and one to Billy. Seymour Arnold Spiegelman, one of God's rare men whose spirit will live forever in the voices of children singing the sweet songs of the world. In the excited heart of every young kid who holds a shiny instrument for the first time and dreams of making music that nobody's ever heard before. And in all of us who love the little guy with the impish grin. His life was a story of love, laughter, unbounded zest, and creativity, all embodied in a heart and mind that refused to let the little boy inside him escape and slip away. And that infectious laugh, that trademark of his eternal youth, poked fun at himself, at life, and made all of us smile and say, yeah, that's Seymour. He was all these things and more, and because of the unique qualities that made him different, that molded him into the man that he was, I am indeed thankful and blessed to be able to claim that Seymour Spiegelman was my friend. Richard Billy Vaughn, by his own admission, and he wouldn't mind me saying it, he was the silliest man I've ever known, but also the most talented man. And his family knows exactly what I'm talking about. They're not going to deny this. Richard Billy Vaughn, the first 33 years of his life, he was a genius unaware, undiscovered. But in his 34th year, when a simple love song he wrote called Trying leaped into the top 10 songs in America, his talent began rolling like a tidal wave into the music world. We learned that he could play 9 different instruments, once recording a 15-piece orchestra in his home studio, playing all the parts himself. That he was a competent conductor and arranger, eventually arranging songs and recording sessions for his own popular band, for Pat Boone, Debbie Reynolds, the Mills Brothers, Harry James, Eddie Fisher, Steve Allen, and countless other recognizable names on Dot Records. I'm convinced, however, that Billy's first passion was writing love songs, a labor of love vocation in which his commercial awareness and creativity were nothing short of extraordinary. You could give him a thimble, he'd write you a love song. With 4 chords, he could compose an impressive opus. Without a doubt, this shy little man was the most talented mortal I've ever known. Despite his array of skills and fame that came his way, he remained reachable and compassionate to his fans and friends. From the time he stood behind a barber chair cutting hair in Glasgow, Kentucky, until he played his final note on earth, Billy Vaughn never changed. He was the same man for 72 years. If indeed eternity is enhanced with choirs of angels, then I'm confident that Billy is right there today, knocking out a vocal arrangement that God himself is undoubtedly approving with a wide smile. Thank you, Western. Thank you for this honor.
I didn't know I'd have to go after Don, and I didn't know he'd be that funny, so I really can't compete with that. I'm very honored to accept this award today on behalf of my father. I only wish he could be here because I know how excited he would be. Everyone that knows him knows how he would probably have bragged about this for so many months before he got here. He would be very, very excited. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, and I can't tell you any funny anecdotes about his time as a student here or with the band, but I do know that it was some of the best times of his life. And his time as a student at Western definitely helped to mold him into a really wonderful person. Don said a lot of great things about my dad, but I just want to take a minute, too, to say a couple. First of all, because I have the chance in an audience, and second of all, because I want to. Okay, anybody who knew my dad could certainly never argue that he was probably one of the Earth's few good people, one of the really good people who lived on this earth. He was the kind of man that couldn't help but bring joy to the lives of people that he touched. He had a smile that could change the world, as Don spoke about. His laugh made other people laugh, and he had a heart with enough love in it for everyone. He could get along as easily with children as he could with older people and anyone in between, and he always made people around him feel good about themselves. He gave more of himself to this world than anyone that I've ever known, and I just pray each day that I live that I could be a little bit more like him. And although he's not here, and he's not going to make me cry, he lives in my heart as well as my family's and everyone who loved him. And I just thank God every day that I had him as a father. And I just want to thank you again on behalf of my mother and my entire family. This means a lot to us. Thank you.
I wish I could sing right now instead of speak, because I would, at this point, I feel very grateful, very proud, and at the same time, very sad. I feel grateful to the people of the Alumni Association that has selected the Hilltoppers to go into the Hall of Fame. It is a great honor, a great thrill for me, and I'm very proud because I'm being offered this wonderful thing in front of a lot of my friends and my family, and it's just a wonderful feeling. I'm very sad, like Don said, because two wonderful people that I love very much, Seymour Spiegelman and Billy Vaughn, are not here at my side like they were numerous times in the past as we were performing, to have and get the same feeling that I have inside right now. But somehow I feel that they know what's going on. As a matter of fact, last night, before I went to sleep, it seemed to me like I could hear that infectious laugh of Seymour's, because he had one. I think today would be the time for me to solve a 46-year-old mystery question that was asked of me numerous times, especially between 1949 and 50. That mystery question was, how in the heck did a Dago from New York get to Bowling Green, Kentucky? Well, I'm going to answer that right now and put it to bed. Fate. Yes, fate brought me to Bowling Green, because in 1948, when I graduated high school, I was offered a music scholarship to one of the top two schools in the country, Eastman School of Music, which I accepted. My best friend, Joe Montadoro, another Irishman, he wasn't as fortunate as I was and wasn't offered any scholarship. Fate number one. My coach in high school was from Kentucky. So he made an appointment for Joe to come to Bowling Green during spring training for tryout, try to win a scholarship. Well, Joe asked me if I would ride with him here because he didn't want to come by himself, which I agreed to do. We got on the bus, we rode for, I think it was something like 32 hours from Lockport, New York to Bowling Green, Kentucky. We arrived, they put us up in a gym, the old gym, that's where they put us, where all the tryouts were. And my friend Joe, he was going out for 2 or 3 days, and he was running around trying out for the football scholarship, and I was sitting in the dorm by myself. Everybody was out there, and I was lonely. So on the third day, I decided, well, I'm just going to go check out some equipment. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to run around in the football field and just get some exercise, which I did it. Well, we left Bowling Green 3 days later, and 2 months later, I received a letter offering me a full scholarship at Western Kentucky State University. My friend didn't make it. So I decided, I liked it here, and I decided, well, I'm going to try it. So I came here the 1st of August, and it must have been, that's when we started practicing, and it must have been about 120 degrees. And we had a coach which was appropriately named Contact Jack. And I'm sure those of you here remember and know what I'm talking about. Well, to make a long story, I was very lonely. And there were many evenings when I rolled over in my bed, cried, because I didn't know anyone. And I was getting ready to leave. And there was a student coach by the name of Buster that was here. And he mentioned to me, Jimmy, stick it out. When school starts, it's going to be different. I was still ready to leave, but he went to a couple of men on the campus and told them that I was getting ready to leave. And so they came to me and they took me to a place on the river called McFarland's. Well, after that, ladies and gentlemen, I never even thought of going home in the summertime. Those two guys were Max Stevens. He was one of them. I heard somebody say, "Oh my God." He was one of them, and I love him to death this day because he probably has as much of my staying as anyone. Well, there it is. This fate is working, right? As I was here, I met Billy Vaughn, who shaped my life. But he's not the only one that I met. I met a beautiful young girl. And to this day, she's been my companion. She's been my confidant. And she's been my wife for 43 years. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let her stand up. I want you to, she's just as beautiful today as she was the day I met her. Her name is Ann. She's sitting over there. Ann, honey, stand up so they can see you. But my wife gave me the opportunity. She allowed me to participate for the years, even though at times I was gone 3 months. At a clip, I'd be home for a night and be gone for another week or two. And she bore me 3 wonderful sons that any man would be proud of, and I am. And I love those sons. But what's more gratifying to me is that I know that they love me. And they gave me some grandchildren, ladies and gentlemen. I take all the time, but I want them to stand up too, because I want you to see, I'm so proud of them. There they are over there, all of them. Just stand up, please, guys, girls. There they are right there. One of my sons couldn't make it. He works for the Department of Defense. He's in Italy right now working. He couldn't come over. But again, I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart that this occasion stands tall, probably at the top of any experience I've ever had. And I owe it all to Western Kentucky. I really do. I owe it to Bowling Green. My whole life was shaped here. I owe it to Western for putting me together with the people that made it for me, that met my wife. And at this time, Dr. Meredith, I'd like to have, if I can, just take a minute, have my 2 boys come up here. I'd like to have them offer something to you. That'd be okay? Yes. Jimmy, Tommy, would you come up here a minute, please?
Surprise.
You didn't know it? No, that's okay. I asked this if it was all right.
I think it's obvious. Y'all can see what this meant, what the school was meant to my father. And on behalf of my brother and his family, and also my other brother in Italy that couldn't make it and his family, and also my family sitting over there, we'd like to present something that's very special to our family, to President Meredith here. And what it is, it's a replica of the original gold record, of their first gold record that was presented to my father. And there again, it does have a warm place in our heart. And because this school has meant so much to my parents, and in turn, because of all the stories and so forth, it's meant so much to us, the children and the grandchildren, we'd like to take this opportunity to present this to you. And I'd like to read the inscription. It says, it's exactly the same as it says on my father's original gold record. It says, presented to Jimmy Sacca of the Hilltoppers in appreciation of P.S. I Love You and I'd Rather Die Young. Your first record selling 1 million copies, Dot Records, Inc., Gallatin, Tennessee. I'd like to print this to you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Here you go, Jimmy.
Well, this will be short. I think not only because of Clem Haskins' wonderful acceptance speech and Don McGuire's words got me to kind of a tenuous emotional state, but also because the sooner we wrap up, I can get over to the cigar store on Coleman Lane and buy a couple of cigars. The music business is a tough business, and you know, my dad wasn't shy about telling us some of the stuff that went on every once in a while, but when it's not acknowledged in our family that the most fun that my dad ever had as a performer was with the Hilltoppers. And you know, he loved all these guys, and his early days on the road, I think, were probably the most fun as a musician and an artist. And I want to thank all of the Hilltoppers here today and the ones that are watching us right now for giving my dad his start. So thank you. And thank you for this award. For my family, my mother and my sister, thank you.
Well, a special day, a lot of memories. Western cherishes the contributions of all of its alumni. And the true mark in measuring the quality of a university, I think, is to look at the success of its graduates. And that's what we've been doing today. Western is a great university today because of the foundation laid by the persons that we have honored here today. It's a very special time. Some of you may not have known that, as they mentioned, some of them mentioned, they have been in our classes, and our graduates do that each year, and it adds a special piece. We're delighted that you've been here today. We hope that you will participate in the rest of the homecoming activities. We've got the dedication tomorrow afternoon of the Diddle Park. I hope that you'll come to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Ronnie Clark and Bobby McGuire are going to perform a duo there, I think, for us that should prove entertaining. And then, of course, all the rest of our activities tomorrow. Don, did you? Well, you can't get a performer off the stage, can you? He said the microphone's still on. He wants back up here.
Now, I forgot something that's important. Billy quit traveling with us after 3 or 4 years because he wanted to come home to his children and stay musical director of Dot Records. So we always had a replacement for Billy. A fellow named Eddie Crow from Jimmy's hometown was the first one. When we left, we came to Bowling Green to hear and audition a singer by the name of Doug Cardoza. Doug was a good-looking guy. Most importantly, he could fit the tuxedo and drive 500 miles without going to sleep. That's why we wanted him. But Doug joined us the last 2, 3, or 4 years, whatever it was, that we were on the road, and he came all the way from California. I'm sorry to do this again, right. But Doug Cardoza from Tulare, California, another Hilltopper is with us. Stand up, Doug. Where are you? There he is. Now, in closing, you.
Thank you, Don. Thank you all for being here. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.